I'm gonna make another Easter egg card design. I made my own little template again with, I just traced this off of a clip art off my phone screen, and then I cut it out to make myself a little template and mask. And I've got a 5x7 sheet of Strathmore 500 series pre-cut sheets, size 5x7. And I am going to trace some egg shapes. I think I'll do 9 total. I'm going to do some rainbow eggs across here. And I'm just going to trace these across. If you want to get really fancy and measure them out so they're equal distance, you can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to try to eyeball it.
I've gone ahead and sped up the video to 2x speed just for the sketching part, so feel free to pause that if you need some more time to sketch yours out with your template. I'm using a water-soluble graphite pencil to trace mine, but you could certainly use just a regular pencil and erase it very lightly, or a watercolor pencil. I'll be using a Princeton Velvetouch round size 6 and size 1 to paint my eggs today. But use any brushes you feel comfortable with. Before I start painting any of these eggs, I want to use some masking fluid to mask off some designs that I want to remain white, and I'm using a Molotow, I think that's how you say it, Molotow brand masking pump marker. It's the 2mm fine tipped marker that's got masking fluid inside of it. It works kind of like a paint pen. So I'm just going to draw a couple different designs. I think I'll do every other one. So 2 in the top row on the outside, 1 in the middle row, and then the 2 on the outside on the bottom row. So just to try to make it even, and then I'll do a color on top of color for the other ones, and then these will have a mask on them so that white shows through. And I plan on doing kind of a rainbow theme, and really you can use any paints that you have. I'm using my Daniel Smith paints. But any colors that you wanted to do, as long as you don't have to do a rainbow design, whatever colors you want. I just happen to choose a rainbow theme, and I'm going through starting with red, orange, yellow, and going down in a zigzag. Here I'm just doing some random designs. I decided to do some wavy lines, dots, zigzags, some curved lines along the bottom of one of these eggs, some polka dots and stripes. Possibilities are pretty endless with this. I do have another video if you're interested in watching it that does have some ideas for Easter egg designs. I did that. They're all in blue. I'll link to that video for you as well in the description if you want to go check it out. It's really popular right now, right before Easter, so if you want to check that one out, go ahead and get some ideas for different egg designs. Like I said, I'm going to start with the red at the top and work my way down in a rainbow zigzag pattern. And I have some permanent red deep that I'm going to use for that top one. And then I'll use that same red to mix together with some yellow to make an orange for the next one. And this is a great exercise for actually practicing your brush control. So for something simple like a card that you're going to send out, if you do multiples of these, it does give you really good practice with learning how to stay within a certain area. Especially if down the road you want to paint some designs and then go around them with another color without it having to bleed with your other color or overlap it. This could be really good practice for that brush control, learning how to keep a brush in a certain line. This is something I'm still struggling with sometimes because I was doing this pretty quickly and I wasn't exactly taking my time all of this. So something to practice, and just a good exercise here, making something simple like Easter eggs. So here I'm making that one just an orange shade. I mixed together my red and the yellow that was on my palette, and I made an orange, and I plan on going back over that one and using that little piece of scratch paper that I made my template with. I'll use that as a mask and make a splatter pattern on that one. And then this one I have my dots masked off, and I'm making that one yellow. And I believe I'm using a Hansa yellow deep for this, or a new gamboge. I can't remember which one I grabbed off the palette there. And I'm going to continue going just the one that's directly below that. I'm going to do a yellow green color. I have a green gold in my palette. I had some on my plate already. I'm using that. And then this is another one that I'll plan on going back over with a little bit darker green after it's dry, just to make my design. So then this one in the middle, I'll do more of a brighter green. I'll Do a sap green for the next one. And then I'll move on to my blue egg. And again, this is one that I will go over the top again after the blue is dry and make a design on top. And I'm using a phthalo blue, the green shade. And I might actually do a couple layers of this blue just to make that a little darker. The next one I want to do kind of a blue violet, so I had some Carbazole violet still on my plate, and I mixed that with my phthalo blue to make a blue violet color. This is another one that I masked off some curved lines along the bottom. And I'm going to go over that blue one more time. Using these Strathmore Ready Cut cards, they're 100% cotton paper, but they do absorb the water different than, say, like Arches or other papers. So you do sometimes need to go over them if you have a solid wash like this, if you don't have a lot of water in there. And here is a good example of how to fix some mistakes. I kind of went out of the edge there a little bit, and what I did was I took some clean water, and then I took my paper towel and I dabbed that up, and then you rub it with that brush with the clean water, but not too much water. You want to dab it off on your paper towel and then dampen that, and then after that's a little more dry, you can go back over it and fix it and blend it back in. So I made just a little goof there on going outside the edge, but some of those are pretty easy to fix right away. So, and then on my purple one again, I wanted to add another layer just because it was very, very light for my liking and I wanted it more vibrant. So I'm just doing one more layer on top of that. So moving to the next one, I'm going to do more of a red violet color. So I'm mixing in to my Carbazole violet, I'm mixing in some Quinacridone rose that I have. So then I'm making more of a red violet color. And I'm going to do a solid wash on that, and then I will go back over that with a design after that's dry. And that last one I'll go over with the Quinacridone rose. And I'm just going to leave those to dry for a little while, and then when it's completely dry, then I can remove my masking fluid. If I try to remove it before that's completely dry, I'll smudge my paint. Alright, so like I said, when I did the orange one, I was going to use that little template that I use to trace, and I'm going to use that as a mask so I don't splatter paint on my other eggs. And I'm just getting some of that orange color that I had mixed up earlier, got that loaded on my brush, and I'm tapping it to make little speckles of paint. So when I lift that up, I have my speckles, and I don't have orange speckles on the rest. So that's a neat little trick to do for this. I did the same exact thing with the other Easter egg tutorial I did. If you want to do speckled eggs or use it as some other way to make a mask or a template for you. And I did go over that blue one more time there, just wanted a little bit more, and I picked up a little bit of the paint on the back of my paper when I went over that. So for this light green egg, I'm going to do a design over that, and I did need a little bit darker green, so I used that sap green to make my lines. I'm just making some curved lines going on a diagonal, just going across my egg. And I'm using a size 1 round brush for that. I switched, sorry for not saying that right away. Just for doing some of those finer details, I did switch to it's a Princeton Velvetouch round size 1. But use whatever brush you feel comfortable with. I'm going to go to that red violet one now because my other blue egg is not quite dry yet. I'm going to do some little swirly lines. And if it's not quite dark enough for you, you can just add a little bit more blue into it or a little more of the violet, just so that it shows up really well on top of that. Even making these little designs is really great brush control exercises as well. You can practice making nice straight lines or dots, swirls, zigzags, any kind of design that you can imagine. So I can finish this up. I am going to dry that blue egg just so that I can do the design on top. That was the only one that was still really wet, just because I had added some extra layers on top of that. This one I am going to do the blue on top, but I'll just mix in a little bit of my violet with it just to give it a little bit darker, and it shows up a little more vibrantly on that egg. I'm going to do just some curvy lines going vertically down this egg, because I already have some that's horizontal. I just want to vary up the designs just to give it a little more interest. And really, this is extremely customizable. Whatever kind of patterns you want to do, if you want to do all pastels, if you want to do a monochrome theme and do all of the same color and maybe have one a different color, would look really cool. Possibilities are really limitless with this. I'm going to go ahead and remove my masking fluid, and I'm actually using a rubber cement pickup tool. It's a little square that's kind of bumpy. You can buy this from art supply stores, and this helps pick up that masking fluid. Of course, you can just use your finger to rub it off. I just find this a little easier because then I don't have the little bits all over the place that I have to try to brush off. This just picks them up, and then you can get it off of that square and get it cleaned off. So this just works really slick for doing that. So if you don't have one of these, I highly recommend it. It's about less than $2, I remember, if I bought it. It's a really cheap but very useful little tool. And magically my designs are appearing as I remove that masking fluid. Alright, so I did test out a couple different markers that I had just to see which ones I liked. This one thing, I just don't have very many, but I'm using an American Crafts. This is a chalk marker, I believe, that was in gold color, a permanent chalk marker. It's from American Crafts, and I'm just writing the sentiment Happy Easter, just in a little bit of a print and cursive mix. Here I'm just writing, that's a gold color. Really any kind of pen you wanted to just write your sentiment, or you could leave it blank. Thanks for watching my video. I'd love to see your projects. If you want to share them with me on Instagram, you can find me there, Mrs. Hand Painted.